Hey, it's a hot day here in California with some fans and no air conditioning. I love it. I don't like air conditioning. It always makes me feel like weird. And I'm here with my Ruger 1022. I love the Ruger 1022. Yeah. And you know why I have the 1022 with me today? Why do you have the 1022 with you today? Well, it's an ideal weapon for killing dogs. And all those, other pets that people love so much. And you're gonna say, oh, he's hating on pets again. Well, anyway, the other day, I was reading the news, and this dude said, it was quoted in the newspaper, saying, the worst thing I ever heard in my life was when I heard someone say, it doesn't matter, it's just a dog. And my reaction to that is that this dude must have led a very sheltered life. Okay, so a little pun on shelter there. And, it's just like, like I remember things like when my aunt was dying of cancer. In the last 12 hours of her life, she had cancer in her larynx, and it was suffocating her, so she could barely breathe. So every breath was this gas that whistled through this hole in her throat. And all her family, her sons, her extended family, her sisters, children, were all clustered around her, praying to Jesus, oh Lord Almighty, all around her in these shrill, high voices, and wailing while she gasped and rolled on this bed, suffocating for air, and did that for 12 hours until she died. So, that's why, and that's just, it isn't like, oh, that's just one experience, I had. I have lots of those memories, as it were. And some of them were at ages very, very, very young, okay, so it just really makes me, like, wow, that's the worst thing you've heard in your life. Wow. I mean, it's like he hasn't even studied a history book or something, It's like, like Hitler, Holocaust, Vietnam, napalm, civil rights movement, slavery, abolitionism, Civil War. I mean, it's just like, wow, the worst thing he's ever heard in his life. I want to talk about something called selfish selflessness. I call it selfish selflessness. This is the kind of kindness that is completely inconsequential, but that people feel that they're better human beings than other human beings for practicing. It's like, don't litter. Yes, don't littering is a good idea, and it's better. I don't litter. I don't like litter. But is it the same as saving a drowning person? I don't think so. I wouldn't equate the two exactly at all. I would say it's much easier to hold a piece of garbage for 3 extra seconds and deposit it in a garbage can than to risk your life plunging in the shark-infested, freezing cold waters to rescue some dodo who got himself in that position. But I would probably do that, and I wouldn't litter either, you see. And it's because I respect those ideals that I become irritated when I hear people talk like that. Because that's probably the only thing they do, okay? The only thing they do is pine after dogs. They don't do anything else. And they wouldn't do anything else. So, that's why, even though I love my fellow human beings, and I realize that we, as being human beings, are always going to have things that we see that other people don't see. I'm just upset that these are the values that our society apparently has, and these are the ways that people are expressing their inner hero, as it were, is by running after dogs that have been bred to make you feel like you're wonderful, okay? That's the point of a dog, make you feel great. I've had 3, pretty close relationships with dogs myself. I mean, I was raised with dogs. I don't remember my childhood ever being without animals, dogs. I don't have any now because I couldn't afford one if I wanted to. And I'm not really saying I want one. I mean, I could have one, and maybe if one came along and I just fell helplessly in love with it or something, and it was a mutual thing and all that, and it seemed right. But, and I'm not talking because, I'm not talking like, weird, but I just mean that, like, just like with any living creature, it's, if you're going to have a bond and going to take care of it, it's responsibility, But not to the extent of ignoring the other glaring problems we have, I mean, it's just like, that's not the worst thing in your life. I mean, we're the steward of the animals, and the animals are, unless we want them to start running for president, they're one rank down, folks. I'm sorry, even God says it, science says it, okay? They can't drive a car, they can't operate a doorknob, okay? They can't think. They're not the people who are going to solve our problems, or the animals, or the beings, or whatever you want, okay? Love them to death, folks. They're never going to grow up, okay? They're never going to grow up. They're never going to grow up and start earning a living or changing the world. You're wasting all that time and energy that something that's just requiting your ego, okay? Worst thing you've ever heard. Wake up, all right? I mean, even if you have the most sheltered life imaginable, there's still the news, and they haven't sugarcoated it that much, I mean, they at least want you to be worrying, But meanwhile, they're going to celebrate this, connection with these dogs and pets like somehow it's like Shakespearean in your relationship with them. Right. Macbeth, and they're all puppies, right? So, I just want to say that, like, I had, like, I did the whole thing, I went to a vet for my dad's old dog, and there was a little box by someone who brought them over because they were abandoned on his doorstep for Christmas. These little puppies, two little brother German shepherds, one was gray with black spots, and one has the traditional brown with the little hunting marks, the brown hunting marks, and stick your little noses out of the little box and go, and it was like, oh, Mom, I think we need to take him home. The whole bit. We took him home, we raised him, and boy, did they cause havoc in my house. They chewed up my dad's old weights that came from some boyfriend he had when he was, like, in high school. And he said, that was my only memory of him. These weights were older than you. Or did he they were weights, old style weights. They were like vinyl covered sand or something like that. And the dog chewed it all up, and there was crap all over the place, and it was my fault. And well, I guess it was, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't. But anyway, he was pissed. And then, like, I put them in my room, and they got so eager to get out, they dug a little hole in the carpet, and then the landlord is like, what's the fucking hole in my carpet? And I was like, God damn, And, and then we went and moved somewhere else, and some animal and heat came along, because I refused to have them, I refused to have the snip done on them. And so they chewed their way through a solid wooden fence and escaped. Good thing they were chipped, too, because I was chasing around the whole city for 2 weeks after them. So, and then like, finally we got thrown out of wherever we were living because, for whatever reason, it wasn't, it was just, I won't get into any of that. But, we put them in a friend's backyard, and they escaped, and I never saw them again. And, but then that was because I had another dog, a little pit bull terrier, right, the sweetest dog ever, most intelligent dog ever. And of course, we couldn't rent an apartment because she was a pit bull mix. So we had dozens of apartments that we could have rented, but we didn't because they wouldn't accept pit bulls. Because you see, the love of dogs isn't completely free of racism or bigotry either. No one would accept a pit bull, especially not where we were at the time, which was Orange County. And so my mom was sleeping in her car with this dog in the back seat because we wouldn't take her to the pound to have her terminated because someone wouldn't let us have an apartment because she was a pit bull, not because they didn't allow dogs. So don't say I don't know what I'm talking about, all right? I went through a lot of shit because of that, and, and that dog finally died in, in my family's, place where we finally found in the middle downtown, a bedroom where they could care less what we did in there, and I mean care less. And, well, until a certain point, anyway. So that's what I'm saying, it's like, when the worst thing you've ever heard is, it doesn't matter, it's a dog, and that's the worst thing you've ever heard, especially as a guy, all right? When our president is insulting Gold Star families and, systematically showing up every American institution as for being something that never really existed, I guess, because they won't stand for themselves. So how can you blame him for what he's doing? Even though he's not exerting his role as a leader to make them stand. But, I guess it is really tempting to retreat to the dogs, isn't it?